This is Fan Electric Ghost, and we are live with Nadia Vaeh. And you're in Atlanta. Not what?
Nadia. I get called Natalie all the time. It's fine.
Oh, I think you just missed my pronunciation. I said Nadia, but you probably didn't hear it right. But Nadia Vaeh, and you're an Atlanta-based singer-songwriter, but you reside in LA.
Yeah.
And we are live on our 3 channels, our Facebook, YouTube. You can see the YouTube streaming below. And we're also on Twitch. Now, we have been podcasting since 2018. Primarily, we were on Spotify audio. And now we are still on Spotify audio and Apple podcast on 9 other platforms. But we're doing this video podcast is the new thing we're doing. And so we're happy to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
So we're going to introduce, like, the one thing we do on the video podcast that we couldn't do before is we can play artist YouTube videos. So we're actually going to play this is a new single for you, right? This video that we're going to play.
Brand new song and video. Okay.
So we're getting ready to cue that up. So this is Never Leave the Basement, which is your official music video. And we're going to put you on mute, and then when we're going to come back and we'll talk about that and ask you about your whole singer-songwriter process. So we're glad to be able to show this, and we're going to go into it right now. So thank you, and we're going to play it right now.
Single week, trying to do new shit, same old me. Coffee in a shower, sitting in my towel. Hey, always wake up in these old sheets. Thread count must be 17. Scroll for an hour, sunny but I'm doubtful. Hey, same day, different week. I'm always trying to do new things. I still dress the way I do. Comfy with the sight of nothing new. Piece of shit. Nothing new. Advertisements go like pavement. Maxes out like credit cards, don't pay them. Everything is fine. I love myself online. I never have to leave the basement. Get home and toss my shoes right off. Try and put my phone down, news won't stop. Taking off my makeup, sage my place and stay up. Hey, pour myself a glass of wine. Talk in the mirror like everything's fine. Tell me where the time's gone, tell me where I went wrong. Hey, same day, different week. I'm always trying to do new things. I still dress the way I do. Comfy with the sight of nothing new. Advertisements go like pavement. Maxes out like credit cards, don't pay them. Everything is fine. I love myself online. I never have to leave the basement. I never have to leave the basement. I never have to leave the basement. Try to secure my social life, but I'm in my basement alone tonight. So many distractions in my mind. I'm getting lost on some social side. Advertisements go like pavement. Maxes out like credit cards, don't pay them. Everything is fine. I love myself.
that was Never Leave the Basement, and we're back. So yeah, so that's a pretty cool video.
Thank you. Thank you.
So is that something that you worked with a producer on?
Yes.
Or you did that yourself?
So no, I wish I did. I mean, that would be insane. I had this amazing team that helped me bring the vision together. I kind of like came up with this crazy treatment, and I took it to Lonnie, my stylist, and I told her I really wanted to take people through the decades and kind of pay tribute to WandaVision.
Oh, cool.
And a big part of that for me was going through 2020 really felt like at times I was in this simulated reality, and you know, everything felt really out of control. We were all grieving in some way, shape, or form, you know, our old lives before pandemic hit. And I love the way the Marvel series portrays grief and how it can have such a huge impact. And, you know, you can give it, I mean, it can be so detrimentally powerful. I remember in pandemic, I was making decisions to kind of help me feel like I had a semblance of control. Like I was like, okay, I'm going to eat the same thing every single day. And like, not to get dark on you, but like, I definitely felt myself taking too much control of my eating habits in pandemic, and falling back into some bad old habits with eating and food. And I know a lot of my friends also confided in me like, oh, I'm like having OCD tendencies come up. Like I keep checking my door lock 52 million times. And I think a lot of us might have experienced this at some level, just, you know, feeling like we were stuck in a loop. And I wrote the song before I watched the series of WandaVision. And then when I went to go create this vision for the video, I just couldn't stop seeing the series in my mind. And I was like, okay, we have to do this. So Lonnie, my stylist, she's phenomenal. She helped me put together all these looks. And then we brought on Evan Blum, who is an insane videographer and editor. And it was a very small team. We did it with like 5 people, 6 people.
Yeah, because of COVID, you had to do COVID distance and COVID you know, protocols. Like everybody's got to be 6 feet or 10 feet. And
yeah, we all got COVID tested before and all that.
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
so it was different.
Yeah, I was talking to an actress in New York, Jess Davis, and they were doing these small films. Like they have to do CGI to put like big crowds into the film. So like they used to have all these extras, and now they can't have them. So they just like fake them.
CGI them now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're realizing, oh, I guess we don't have to pay extras anymore. Hopefully.
Yeah, that might be a bad thing.
Not.
Yeah, because you know you
hopefully
want to be
not
like, entry level to get into stuff. Yeah, it's like the one thing about this whole pandemic is the ghost. You know what I do is I've always been a bedroom producer, and I kind of just like, you know, do everything out of my bedroom studio, and so it kind of gave me a chance to be like, okay, well, everybody's doing that now. So I kind of like everybody started like asking, well, how do you do that? Yeah, it's just interesting because my life did change because I used to be an Uber driver to get extra cash, and I totally stopped that because I couldn't do it. But yeah, everything changes. Like I haven't been able to get out, and like everything I do, my day job's all at home because I'm like in IT. So I mean, it's a very traumatic thing. My daughter had to do school from home. It's like everybody's like stuck at home. So I get the idea, like being in a basement in my man cave type of thing, and I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, and when I think about like growing up, so in the South, basements are a big thing. And when I think of being in my basement as a child, like you just like the creativity and like all the things that you can do in a basement are limitless when you're, you know, a kid. So it just always felt like such a fun, safe space for me. And yeah, that's kind of like how the song came to be, I guess. It's just like a little bit of inspiration from all over.
I like how you had that little kind of glitch part where you're kind of on your camera and it kind of falls off, and that's kind of cool.
Thank
Because people
you.
are so into like perfect today. Like, if you think about like a lot of music, they're so into everything being so perfect. Then you have that kind of thing. It's kind of unexpected, and I like it. I like the fact it makes it real. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's another thing too. That's what the song also, I feel like, was born out of a frustration with that, the entertainment industry and social media and like this, whole glaze of perfection being like just shoved down our throats. I feel like it's really irresponsible and not at all accurate. So like when I'm saying I love myself online, it's like sarcastic.
Yeah.
It's like
because it's like everything. It's like the memes online and all the the social media characters or influencers try to make themselves like beyond perfect. And it's my whole thing with music is I kind of grew up. I'm a child of the '70s, right? So I like like bands like fusion bands, jazz like fusion bands like the Allman Brothers and the Grateful Dead, and they didn't care if they just jammed out. They wasn't trying to make a perfect pop song. It was like I'd like to go see the Clash, or go see the Ramones to see who could do. See like Sub Pop or IRS Records. I was big time into like alternative indie and college radio, and the whole thing about that was like the honesty that you get from a guy like Kurt Cobain or Eddie Vedder, or like the Talking Heads or the Ramones, and it's just like that seems to be like not as big today. Everybody wants to do these perfect DAW tracks. So that's kind of, I totally feel that video from that kind of perspective that you're kind of spoofing it. But let me get to the questions. So you're an Atlanta native and you won the IMA Vox Pop winner. You're an IMA Vox Pop winner, and you're also into modeling. And then you were also in a circus. So maybe you can kind of start from like, do you want to start from when you were a model or when you got into the circus, or when you started doing music?
I'll just give like a brief synopsis. So when I was 15, my mom took me to get some modeling headshots, and I started doing like glasses ads and like small modeling gigs. And then I started my first band. My mom passed away, and I kind of just jumped ship with all of that stuff because she was my biggest champion and supporter. So I guess my spirit needed to take a break from all of that and go wander. So I did that, and I wound up going in a bad direction, partying, and just, wasn't really myself because I wasn't dealing with my feelings and my grief in a healthy, proper way. And as fate would have it, I was brought back to music in a weird happenstance meeting. I was in school dating a guy and working at a great company. And one day I woke up and I was just like, I am so unhappy. I'm so unfulfilled. And that same day kind of quit everything, my job, my boyfriend, my school. And I was just like, I'm going to get back into being creative. And I didn't know what that looked like or what that meant. But later that day, as I was moving things out, I realized I needed to do a last load of laundry. So I went down to the one neighbor's house in the building I had lived in at the time that I had shared a few words with. He was like this quirky guy with handlebar mustache, and knocked on the door and asked to borrow a cup of laundry detergent. And he kindly obliged, and I noticed all this like stuff hanging from the ceiling because it was loft apartments, and I was like fascinated and asked him like why all the crazy contraptions, and he's like, oh, I run a circus, I'm a circus ringmaster. And I was like, wow, that's so amazing, I've always wanted to join the circus. And that's when he responded something that I feel like ignited a fire that was already like seething inside of me. He was like, well, why don't you? Like, what's stopping you from like joining the circus? And then like my, fire was ignited and I was ready to start being creative again. I started attending rehearsals and practices and found out I am not a naturally agile, flippy, circusy being. But I tried it. It was fun. And I did some hand-to-hand acrobatics, and I did actually perform a show where I did hand-to-hand acrobatics with them. And I ended up singing in the productions. And I met my first songwriting partner post, the passing of my mom. And we started a folk project. And Ben Farmer is his name, and he went to Berklee School of Music, and he really taught me so much more about songwriting and how to be a great storyteller. And that was super transformative. And from there, I shifted into a reggae project. And then from there, I found my way into pop, which I really fell in love with because that's kind of what I grew up on, like, you know, Spice Girls, Britney, you know, being a girl from the 90s, like very
90s
much.
pop. Yeah, I do hear 90s pop. Yeah,
and then,
you have that sound.
Oh yeah, and then the thing that I loved about it most is you could genre bend so much. Like you could have a reggae pop song, you could have a you know, R&B style pop song. So it was really fun, and from there I really tried to make things happen in Atlanta, and I went to Colorado for a bit, tried to make some stuff happen, and I got some, you know, songs created and done, but I felt like it wasn't quite where I wanted to be creatively, and I felt limited. So then I made my way to LA and really quickly found my team and grew at an exponential speed that I'm even looking back on and was like, hang on, I'm a totally, like, I feel like the art helped me heal so much and transformed my spirit on. It's just crazy to look back and be like, wow, I'm not even that same like shy girl anymore.
I think it's interesting because you know, I always follow like David Bowie, right? The good example with Bowie was he brought theater into music, right? So you doing the circus kind of gives you like that performance aspect that I think a lot of musicians need to have, that because like when you do music, if you think about what Bowie said, he didn't want to do it like David Jones, his normal name, right? He tried to do it kind of like like Lady Gaga tried to be just herself, right? And didn't work. They had to kind of create the stage persona. And Bowie was like the king of stage personas. He changed all the time. But I think the whole idea is that having this other you, or this ability to do performance where you can kind of, you know, when you go on stage, you kind of become another you no matter what when you're a performer, you know, because your stage voice is different than your normal voice, how you present yourself as an entertainer, and having that capability, having to do in some kind of performance art, I think it helps. Do you think that helped you?
Oh, absolutely. Just getting to do the stage performances, and it gave me a lot of confidence because I was leaving a pretty dark space in my, you know, my mind, and just being around quirky people like that, and just, you know, having that kind of exposure and life lessons. It was very like needed. I literally would not be here today if I didn't have that experience with the circus. So very grateful.
So like your primary writing instrument, is it a guitar, or because I see you play a guitar in the video, or is it like you just use like MIDI keyboards or piano? Is like when you write, how do you write?
So I am very basic at guitar. I am not there yet on my guitar journey, but I will get there. Guitar is definitely my instrument of choice when songwriting. I have incredible musicians that I work with right now as I get my chops honed. But I've started songs on piano. Like I have a song coming out later this year called When You Think About Love. It began all on piano. Boomerang, my song that's out now, or that's been out for a while, started on piano. So it really just depends, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, you know, I'm a keyboard player. I'm a, you know, synthesis. So a lot of my stuff starts either with like analog modular gear or like keyboards, because that's what I do. But I can never play guitar. My brother was a guitar player and I wanted to play guitar. So I had this kind of frustration so I try to make my modes sound like guitars.
Piano, I can't make a piano sound good. Like as soon as I picked up a guitar, I was like, okay, this is my instrument. I'm gonna work on it. But I think everyone has their spirit instrument. So that's cool.
I mean, it's interesting because the synthesizer, what I found about it, what I liked about it, and everybody uses MIDI or DAWs, is that you can become a string section. You can do the horns, you can do the drums, you can do everything. And you know, I'm a child of the 70s, so I used to have these basement bands, and I got these like, you know, mini Moogs and Rolands and stuff, and I was able to get with the bands, and we were like, okay, we can be like the Talking Heads. We can try to do experimental stuff, and it was cool because then I could just write like everything. because I'd be like the writer. So I'd write the bass line, the drum line, and then the real guy, the guys like the bass player coming in like write a better line, or the drum I did on an 808, the drummer would take it and make it better. And like everybody kind of today, that's what they do. But in the 70s, all we had was Tascams and 4-trackers. We didn't have DAWs. We just had like, whatever 4-track or reel to reel you could use. So I kind of still am DAWless. I don't use DAWs when I write. But it's just interesting today, like all the tools that people have, you have so many choices when you write. So when you write, do you use a DAW or do you work in a studio? Do you go to a studio and work with like producers, or do you have like a demo that you bring to the producer?
So it varies. Sometimes I'll just start out with a voice note on my iPhone, or I'll track a little demo in my apartment or at a friend's house, and then we'll build from there. Or I'll be in the studio with my boys and be like, hey, I have this chorus idea. Can you guys jam on the piano or the guitar for a little bit? Let's just jam, and then we'll find something that we like and expand on it. So it really just depends on the song or the,
the feeling. I mean, a lot of times I like to do that kind of old school 70s type of thing. You go in with a full band and you just record in the studio, or you record in your practice session. I find that tends to work better than anything I planned. Tend to like the happy accidents I find as a songwriter. If I try to plan something out, it might be okay, but like as soon as I go get with somebody else, get with other musicians, and my plans tend to evolve way beyond what I thought they were going to be.
Yes. That's why when I'm in a co-writing situation, like where I'm jamming with people, I never like to go in with like a fleshed out idea. I'm just like, hey, I have this one line that I'm hearing. What do you guys think? And then it gets expanded upon, and then the energy's bigger, because everyone.
So do you tend to like to write that way more than trying to do, like a lot of people today, like at home in their DAWs, will do these fully fleshed out things. But I find that what you just said is coming in with like I might just come in with a Moog bass line, and that's it, or just a drum line, that's it, and then have other people kind of vibe off of it.
I love collaboration. I really do. I think it's just so fun to like feed off of each other's energy, and it's like a wonderful social experience too. Some of my best friends are my people that I make music with. So,
So yeah, that sounds like that's really interesting, because so many people are into like, well, I think what happens, like in the DAW, in the digital audio workstation, you can be a total control person. Like, and some people have very complete ideas, right? So they come into it and it's like, well, I know exactly what I want, right? And so they go and they do it. And then, but it is like I think the whole nature of being an artist, especially when you're like a collaborative musician, is that like you kind of grow when you work with other people,
Absolutely. I've learned so much in those sessions like that. It's amazing.
Yeah, I just think it's like a better experience for me. But the problem is, like during the lockdown, you can't do that as much. And so what I've had to do is like, send a file to somebody and then get a file back, because I'm working with people like all over the world and stuff. Like I work with somebody in Sweden or Canada or Germany, and it's not the same as being physically together. So have you been able to stay with your kind of pod of people, or did you have to do stuff remote?
So luckily, I was able to stay working in the same way that I was before, because a lot of my collaborators are overseas anyway. So we were Zooming before everything went down.
Okay, so you're already doing that. So that's good.
And my main collaborator is here in LA, my mixer producer, Tyler Spratt. And I love working with him because I can just sit in the studio and like go through every detail. And it's local to me. So yeah, it's been, my workflow wasn't really interrupted by the pandemic. I just kind of kept doing the same thing that I was doing.
That's interesting, because I had some bands that were like full rock bands, and the drummers were having a lot of problems, because like the physical drummers in like alternative type indie rock bands, they're like, it's hard for drummers to like collab. Not that they can't, and they did, but they had a problem when they can't be in the studio. They're not that they could be in their home studio, but it's like different playing the drums against like a WAV file versus being in the studio and doing it.
Yeah, it's completely a different vibe.
It's such a hard thing for them to do, and everybody else like that does other types of instruments seem to be able to kind of handle it, but the drummers seem to have the most trouble from what I've talked to in the last year. But yeah, it's interesting. Like some people were able to like kind of were stopped dead by the pandemic. They didn't know what to do. There were bands that like only recorded in studios, didn't have a DAW, and then they were kind of stuck, because they had to like try to relearn how they do their own stuff.
Yeah.
But that's cool. You didn't have to do it.
It's been a process for everyone. I feel like in some way, shape, or form, we've had to like make some adjustment. But
no, in terms of live performance, were you doing a lot of live performance before?
I was, and that was the biggest like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm not going to any venues anytime soon. But I did try to get on the live stream train, and in the beginning, it was super rough. I was like, oh my God, I don't know if people can hear me or if it sounds anywhere like decent.
Well, the problem I heard was like a lot of artists vibe off the crowd, right?
That too.
So if you don't get the crowd interaction, you don't know if they're digging you or not. So you have no idea how you should play it, right?
Yeah.
Like if you play a live audience, you can kind of like, I know how I should do this, right? I can immediately see the reaction. I can see if it's not hitting, right? But like if you're on the net, like you're okay. What I found is I kind of have to vibe in myself. Like I just kind of get lost in what I'm doing and hope that my enthusiasm will go through, because I can't really try to feel the feedback. And like if you're an artist that kind of depends on that, it's very difficult, I think.
Yeah. It was like, it definitely was an adjustment period for me. Cause like, when you're used to doing so much live stuff, you do get that audience reaction. So like the first few shows, live streams were rough. And then it was kind of like, okay, I'm just going to have fun with this. And I'm just going to jam in my living room like I would anyway.
Yeah.
And just like hope people.
Then you let it go. Yeah. You let it go. I think you have to let go some of that like anxiety about how are they hitting it, and just kind of, if you enjoy yourself, right? It's kind of like this whole thing. If you're into what you're doing and you're excited, you can create that exuberance to make other people excited. Yeah. So I think you just have to kind of say, okay, well, I'm just going to be so into it that everybody else will get into it because I'm happy. I'm just I'm energetic or I'm feeling something. So I think that's how a lot of people are doing it now. They're kind of vibing it, or they're using studio tricks like like I wear like stagecraft, like Phantom outfits. But yeah, I think people just figure out what they're going to do. And so are you trying to get back into live performance, or is that still like not something you can do where you are?
So I do have a show in June in LA at the Mint on, I think it's June 18th. I will be posting about it if that is incorrect. It's either June 18th or June 19th, but it's at the Mint live, and it's going to be their main stage. So we're getting back to it. And then I'm working on booking some other stuff too. So very excited about that.
Yeah, we're still doing just like, I'm doing a big thing like I talked about, where I've been on the air since 2018. I've always like 60 guests. So we're trying to get as many guests that we've had to do like an online festival in July from like the 16th to the 18th. So yeah, and I think you said you'd do it.
Yeah, I'm down.
So yeah, so I mean, normally I go to New York and Boston and play in clubs in New York and Boston, but I still haven't like figured out how to do that yet. But when I can, I will do it again. But for now, we're doing this like the podcast, and we're doing that ability to like help other people, which is the whole idea of this, is to kind of create like I don't know, like a community. Like the podcast community is a bunch of musicians that we kind of dig each other, and then we talk to each other, and then we create this
nice
vibe. Yeah, I think we just kind of like push each other, and then you get into what other people are doing. So in terms of your influences, who are your influences as artists that got you, like when you started to write, who were you inspired by? Not that you were like trying to clone them, but what artists did inspire you to get into what you're doing?
So from all over different genres, Nirvana's major influence for me. Paramore, Hayley Williams, love her. She is a vocal goddess. Any really good angsty 90s, like Alanis Morissette, Jewel.
Okay.
I have obviously like all the pop greats like Christina, Britney, Spice Girls, like all that's, you know, massive for me. Celine Dion, strangely enough, I grew up on the French albums.
Well, that's a great. She has a great voice. It's kind
I
of like
friggin' love Celine Dion, and I just love how nerdy and like she's just so quirky and weird. Definitely grew up on a lot of classic rock, Guns N' Roses, Led Zeppelin, the Eagles. Grew up on a lot of Middle Eastern music.
Yeah, because you're from Lebanon, right? You're Lebanese?
Yeah.
Are you born in Lebanon or born in the U.S.?
Born in U.S., but my dad's
Lebanese.
Yeah, Lebanese and straight from there. And then I spent a lot of time in the islands. I grew up in Curacao, going to Curacao for like 13 years of my life, and then I lived there for a little bit too, and was going to go to school there actually. So I definitely acquired an ear for like a lot of island sounds, and I really like got drawn into like reggae. And I mean, that island in itself has like over 500 different nationalities on it. So it's just like this culture, like
well, it's a good. I think it's genre bending is what I like to do. You know, I think a lot of people today, what I call my record label was expansive sound. You know, because I merged like everything. But my kind of, I like fusion, I like jazz, I like rock, I like Hendrix. You know, I like hip hop. I like Johnny Cash. I like Frank Sinatra. You know, I like John Coltrane. I like Sunrise. You know, I like you know guys like Tyler the Creator, and I like all this other stuff. I mean, I'm all over the map, and so I will listen to I'll talk to somebody from Nashville. I'll talk to a country star, and I'll talk to a DJ. I'll talk to a punk rocker. I'll talk to a heavy metal band. It's not all just electronic. It's like whatever is out there.
Good music is good music.
Yeah. I mean, I used to just go to read Rolling Stone back in the 70s. And then whatever got 4 or 5 stars, I go to a record store and get it. It didn't matter what genre it was. I just like go check it out. My dad kind of got me into that. My dad had like Frank Sinatra, Nat King Cole, and then Johnny Cash, and then Ella Fitzgerald, and he had Motown, and he had the Beatles, and he had the Stones. So he was a record collector, and he just had all this vinyl. And I just grew up like, wow, this stuff is cool, and I just didn't really care, what the genre was. I was like, my dad was like all over the map. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to listen to everything.
Yeah, I have a hard time with the subscribing to the ideal that artists have to stay in a particular genre. And that's why I love pop, because you can do whatever you want. Like if you listen to Halsey's discography, she's, one of our greatest, pop stars. But she definitely genre bends like no other. She's got some country sounding stuff. She's all over the place, and I friggin' love it. I'm here for that. And I do wish more artists would embrace that.
Well, I kind of grew up with like Prince and Stevie Wonder, guys like that, like that they could cross. Like, on a Prince album, he would go multiple genres on the same album. Totally out of left field. Stuff that sounds like demos, stuff that sounds like craft work. Stuff that sounds like, Hendrix, sounds like Santana, sounds like hip hop, sounds like whatever. He didn't really care. It's just like whatever he felt like doing, that's what it is. And I think that's hard today. People want to pin you into something. So, you're, especially in electronic music, like, you're EDM, you're techno, you're trance. It's very, very segmented, and even in hip hop, it gets like very segmented what type of hip hop you are. And I think it's better to kind of be just like, I'm going to have anything. I'm going to take country. I'm going to take, heavy metal. I'm going to take jazz. I'm going to in the same song, sample whatever. And I think people should not have these kind of barriers, to music. I think the whole idea of music, you shouldn't have that kind of barrier.
Yeah. I'm getting confused. Is it Picasso or Van Gogh that has the color periods? Wait.
I think yeah, I don't know. I'm not as much of a graphic artist. My daughter's a graphic artist. She could probably tell you.
Regardless, so like, how painters have their color periods.
Yeah, everybody has their period, yeah.
I feel like right now I'm in my pop rock period of my artistry, and then from there we'll see where it goes. Like I might switch it up and be an R&B artist after I'm done with these series of songs that are like more aggressive. So
yeah,
I think that's how
it's cool that people can go into like retro soul, and then they get guys who do nothing but Delta blues. You get guys do nothing but like heavy metal, and I think it's cool to like just explore wherever you go, because like if I go do a recording session, like one day I might be doing jazz. I might be trying to do some Coltrane stuff. The next day I might be trying to do like, Sgt. Pepper type stuff. And it depends on where my head's at. Is if I want to go into like classic, like Beatle-esque chord progressions and stuff, it's like, yeah, because that stuff's always cool. It's always good. You can never run out of Beatle type ideas.
No, they were also all over the place, and I love it.
But then you can get to like a guy like Keith Richards, which I love about Keith Richards. He's kind of got this kind of sloppy, discordant, kind of off-time guitar. You think about the Stones, a lot of this stuff is a little off the beat. It's kind of like rough and ragged if you listen to like Exile on Main Street. And that's kind of hard to do today, with sometimes so many producers want to control the timing and control. But if you listen to bands like the Grateful Dead and, Frank Zappa and stuff like that, it's like the stuff isn't always perfect timing. That somehow when you have something that's a little off, there's beauty in like it being inconsistent.
In the imperfections, yeah.
Yeah, the imperfection of some of the classic stuff from the 70s is that it won't go 2 o'clock. That it is a little off. It'll change keys. It'll do this. And then everybody's like today, so I got to keep the BPM. I got to keep the BPM.
Trying to get people to stop dancing. Yeah.
Yeah, because like, okay, well, I understand that's a certain genre, but like, when you get into rock, you don't have to do that. You can be like, yes, you can be a progressive rock band and Pink Floyd. You start off from one key, you start from one timing and switch to another one. So that's kind of where my head's at. What I like to do is songs beyond 3 minutes, like 8, 9, 10-minute songs, which is not what people want to hear, today in the club most of the time. But I think it's like, there's a place for everything, like you said.
Oh yeah. There are people there's an audience for everyone, every artist, and every sound. So.
Yeah. So you've been collaborating with people for your own work overseas. You mentioned that. Do you actually work with other people? Like, do you like guest or do like top lines with other artists?
Yes, I love writing with other artists. Songwriting is my favorite part of what I do. I have some other artists that I've written for too that just haven't released music yet, but will be later this year. And I also do some artist development, which is cool and really fun and rewarding. It's kind of nice. Like, since I've made a lot of mistakes in the beginning of my career, I can kind of like guide other artists not to do those things. So
yeah, you mentioned an artist to me, and I am going to be interviewing her.
Amazing. Okay, cool.
We did get together, and we're working on setting that up. But yeah, so I appreciate that. You can send any other artists my way you want.
We'll do. Yeah, Brina Rose, she's a sweetheart, and she works hard, and it was really fun working on her first single with her. And we're gonna start working on a new piece soon too. So
so you're co-writing with her?
Mm-hmm. Co-writing and helping facilitate and produce her photo shoots and visuals and giving career guidance.
Like, she's under your wing a little bit.
Yeah, helping out where I can. So I love doing that. If there are any artists listening right now, if you're looking to learn about the industry and expand your discography and like want to learn songwriting on a deeper level, like definitely DM me and we can definitely chat.
Well, we have your link tree up here. It's going to be up here permanently when this goes like on our permanent links. I'm always collabing myself. Like, I'm collabing with this producer from Holland, and we're looking for like somebody to do top lines for the stuff we're coming up with. And yeah, I think anybody. I think you said you might send some people my way, but I always announce it. I'm always looking out for doing stuff. But yeah,
let's chat about that for sure.
Yeah, because I just like to go in all different directions. Normally, I don't do like techno, EDM stuff. I'm more like experimental. But the stuff I'm doing with this guy from Holland is a little different than what I normally do, which is why you like the collab, because you work with somebody, because like you'd go somewhere where you normally don't go. But yeah, it's interesting like how you can meet people. Like everybody's been locked down. Like you had the song in the basement, but I've actually met so many people during this lockdown kind of situation, more than when I was on the road.
Yeah, I made so many friends online. It's crazy, and then I've gotten to meet some of them in real life now too.
That's cool.
Which is cool.
So what's your opinion on the future of music and like how streaming services, work? Like, we're here because I found you, probably because you were on social media or on a streaming service. But then, a lot of musicians have opinions about how this actually works for us. Well, what are your kind of thoughts from that kind of perspective?
I believe that social media is an amazing tool. I've, again, connected with some of my favorite collaborators, and then people like yourself on Instagram and Facebook and such. I think it can get a little toxic at times. There's the vicious cycle of like, okay, this, can get, we can get inundated with maybe too much perfection or too much of a certain message, to where we start going down bad rabbit holes for our mental health. So there's two sides to the coin of social media. It can be beautiful and amazing and very useful and helpful, but it can also be, it's really what you make it though. Like I've really tried to, follow more inspiring accounts and limit my time online as well. And just yeah,
because I think people can get caught up in like becoming like a habit, like gambling. You can get online, you can be so like into trying to hit those online goals, or like the whole social media goals are like, I gotta get this many likes, I gotta do this many posts, I gotta get, then to get affected, like when somebody gives you a bad statement, comes back and they get trigger you to do all this stuff. And it's like, okay, well, I'm an artist, so I'm just going to shut that off, and I'm going to go right.
Yeah.
If it gets too much.
I find that when I spend less time online, I have more creative flow. So.
Yeah, because you can get caught up in it. It's like you end up wasting hours. It's like, I could have been writing. I didn't need to be here.
Yeah, it's a time suck. I did start setting the timer. You've exceeded a certain amount of time. Like I have mine set for 45 minutes. So that way I can know to get the F offline. But yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing for anyone to just practice. Just either like limit your time or like set a cutoff time, and maybe don't look at social media first thing when you get going.
Yeah, I think it's hard. Is like if you're kind of like a creature of the web, then I use it to get guests. There's certain things I do. So I'll go looking for other artists, or I'll read my messages to find artists that are pinging me or I'm pinging them. And so like it's kind of like that. It's kind of part of your workflow. But there's stuff where you guys like, hey, I'm going to go outside and ride my bike.
Yeah,
I'm going to go out.
It's all about balance. It's all about balance.
Walk my dog.
Right. It's all just about a balancing act. I think. That's the secret to life, I think.
Yeah, I think like every artist, I guess, how much time do you spend practicing? How much time do you spend rehearsing? How much do you spend marketing? I think that's the whole thing as an artist, because like a lot of us are all kind of like do it ourselves, right? So we got to put on a marketing hat. We got to put on, the production hat. We got to do the video. You got to do this. You take over so much. So you find it like that's hard to do everything, or do you like having the control?
I hate it. I would love to toss out some of the hats to somebody else that will look better in them. I would like to just literally have the life of Ariana Grande, where you wake up and you make music. Although I wouldn't like not writing my own songs. So yeah, I don't know. I would like to be able to just wake up and do the art side of it. I don't really give a crap about the marketing. I love making visuals. I love coming up with video treatments and concepts. I love designing photo shoot ideas, like anything creative, I'm here for. Even creative marketing ideas, I can get behind. It's the tedious stuff.
Yeah,
that
like the stuff that you have to do to try to get out there. Like, the stuff that A&R guys were used to do.
Yeah, like,
stuff when you get
post
put
on
the
TikTok
label
3 times a day.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the stuff when you used to get signed, that all those guys, your managers and your A&R would go and do it, and they go to the radio station and get all the DJs to play your record in rotation. It's like all that stuff that now we have to go and do the same equivalent of talking to some radio DJ, except it's like a playlist. Trying to get on a playlist, you're trying to get on this social media show, you're trying to get on this podcast, you're trying to get this, you're trying to get the newspaper, you're trying to get fanzine, you got to do so much work. Then you're like, well, I just want to play, right? I just want to write.
I just want to write. I just want to write. I just want to write.
And then he was like, I got to spend all this time doing not writing.
Yeah. But, I think it's good to know how all the lay of the land is. And I think, it definitely gives you some skin in the game to attract the other people to wear the hats. So definitely, if you're an artist out there, do all the things, but do them balanced as possible, and make time for self-care, because that's important too.
But what do you think about the way we get paid, though? I mean, a lot of our streaming money is like in micro pennies, right? And a lot of times as an artist, like, you make more money selling a t-shirt or a poster or merch than you do on your music. Like, you have to do a merch table sometimes, unless you get into like sync licensing and you get your thing, put onto a TV show or commercial or radio or something.
Yeah, I do believe that. I actually just filmed a video about this. Actually, I'm going to post up on social later this week, next week. But basically, yeah, the pay structure is completely messed up, and there's been no adjustments made since we've lost mechanical royalties, which is ridiculous. The fact, I mean, I feel like art has always been looked at as a commodity, but that lens has definitely widened with streaming. And so many more people are, even my friends, I've had to educate them, like, hey, when you stream my song, that's amazing, and I appreciate the support. But I'm literally making 1/10 of a penny, if that, because by the time I pay my producers, like, for every stream. So they like don't even know that they're contributing by just paying the $10 to Spotify. Like, they're kind of co-signing on artists not making livable wages, doing the work that they do, because it is work. It's a job. Artists are the voice of the people, and it's an important job. It's an important role, and it should be properly compensated. So my hope is, as we're coming out of this pandemic, that we will start seeing shifts in that pay structure. I do believe there are a lot of people on our side advocating, trying to change things.
Yeah, I think they need to do with, like, what's happened during the pandemic is, like, Spotify and SoundCloud put these like COVID relief buttons, and people could contribute to an artist. They could say, I want to give them more money, right? They could basically donate. But I think they should do something more permanent, where, if you want to, like, if you love an artist and the artist you listen to most, shouldn't you get a little bit more of that money right? Like, so my whole thing is like, if I love a band, I go buy their vinyl. I'll go buy their T-shirt. I'll go buy their poster. I'll go on their website and buy all their merch.
Right.
Because I want to support the band. So if you love a band, go to iTunes and actually buy the record. Go to Amazon and actually buy the record.
Right.
Go into the record store and buy the vinyl.
The times that fans have used that Spotify donate button, they don't know what that does for an artist's day. They're like, you're like instantly like, oh, I've been making this music without a thank you for a while, and then you're like, oh, okay, somebody. I mean, we don't do it for the money, but like it does make.
Yeah, it makes you feel good, And I think if they found a way to like, okay, like if people could donate and then you get like a PDF or you get like a video or you get something from the artist that gives you that connection like you used to get with vinyl, right? So I think the whole thing, I grew up with vinyl and I have this kind of tactile relationship with music. Like if I love a band, I want to have their album in front of me. I want to read the lyric sheet. I'm not just jumping around a Spotify playlist. I want to listen to a complete thought of an artist. So I want to listen to their full EP or their album and actually have it. I think a lot of kids today maybe don't think that way. They didn't grow up with the album. They're growing up with the playlist.
Yeah. And I think like the whole dynamic, like the younger generation, like they don't know what it is to sit and consume an entire artist's discography and sit with the lyric pamphlet in their room. Like that, those were cherished moments for people like like my generation, your generation.
Yeah, I used to sit in the basement listening to Zepp. I used to sit in the basement with 4 or 5 guys doing whatever, listening to Pink Floyd or Zepp, right? And it was a whole experience. Like we listened to the whole record. Mm-hmm. And it's like that was like we're gonna listen to Dark Side of the Moon. We're gonna listen to the whole thing. Right? Oh yeah. We didn't just jump around. And I think on a playlist. And I think that is like you do get fans today within the indie movement that will buy a whole project from an artist. It tends to be in our genre that people will do that because they really get into like the fact that we're kind of on this indie level. Yeah, I just think there needs to be more support because if you think about it, like YouTubers can get donations for playing video games, but it's hard to get a music fan to actually do the same thing.
Yeah, it's definitely different, but I think there's some positive shifts happening slowly but surely. I think education is also a big part of it. It's just letting fans know like, hey, when you stream my song, that's great, but go an extra mile if you really like what I do.
Yeah, go buy it, watch the YouTube video, tell friends about it, watch me on social media. Because the weird thing is social media will actually pay you more. Like if you put your stuff on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, your royalty rates are higher if your stuff is converted there. And so if you get your fans to realize, well, if you actually watch me on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, I actually get more money.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But that's kind of how it works. It's not all about money, but I think every artist, we do it because we love it. But I think people need to understand that music costs money. Like you say, you have to master. You got to pay your producer. You got to pay a recording engineer. You got to do the artwork.
It's expensive to create a song, but it's also time intensive. So. Oh
yeah, you don't even get paid for the time.
Super time.
I think people. It's like if you think about a painter, it's like a starving artist. Like you get that big payday because you get like a benefactor, or you get in the gallery, and you better have all this work before you can actually get to that gallery. But now, like with musicians, we don't even get to go to the gallery.
Yeah, there's no gallery options for us.
We need the gallery option we could figure out a Bitcoin or stuff, So to get people like, okay, I want to digitally own like some kind of crypto version of my music, and then suddenly people want to get into it because it's like crypto music. I don't know, but like it seems like you got to get on some kind of you got to get into a video game soundtrack. You got to get like on a sync licensing into advertising. or independent films. Work with independent filmmakers and get your stuff placed on indie films. There's different types of things you can do. I mean, being an electronic musician, I could do 30 seconds to get into like on one of my synths and get into some kind of sync licensing situation, and you might not even know I'm doing it. But it's like I'd rather have the ghost stuff be more known. But if I got to make money, then I do what I got to do.
Yeah, I feel you. Then it can fund the stuff we really love.
Yeah, you fund the stuff you love, with the other stuff.
Yeah. At least it's music, right? But I only have about 5 minutes, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, another place to go. Okay, well we can wrap it up.
Sorry. Yeah, I have to go actually to the studio tonight.
That's fine. Well, I just enjoyed having you on the program. We are gonna publish this to our other audio partners. Like we have 11 audio partners that this is going to go to: Spotify, Podcast, Apple. Right. So within an hour, it's going to start migrating into the audio podcast world on top of this.
Amazing.
So thank you for being on the program. We appreciate it.
Thank you. If you have any last questions, no worries. I can hang around. I just wanted to let you know that
that's fine. Yeah, we tend to go long. We forget.
No worries. We're artists.
Yeah. So I think it's just great that are you working on a new project for this year beyond the video you did? Is that part of like an EP or an album?
So this song is kind of like hi, I have something bigger coming. I'm working on I have 12 songs that are kind of all cohesively this pop rock vibe, and I'm kind of in the midst of deciding if I'm going to split them into 2 projects and do 2 EPs, or if I'm just going to do them all as an album, my first album.
Mm-hmm.
So
that sounds good. That sounds good. I would go for the album. That's just me. But I think the way the world is, 2 EPs might actually be better.
Yeah, the way the world is right now. And I think also too, like with my love of visuals and creating videos too, this will give each song a little bit more focus and love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I'm obsessed with all these songs. They're my little 12 little children that I'm going to send to Ivy League schools.
You can do part 1 and part 2 and have like EP1, EP2.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so excited. And leading up to it, I have a collaboration with an artist named Danny out of Nashville. He actually goes by DNNY. So it's Denny.
Oh, cool. Mm-hmm.
And it's coming out in June. And it's called Good For You, ? Good for you. Like the letters.
Cool. I like that. For Christ type of thing.
It's fun. It's really a fun song. And it has that pop rock, just super hyped up vibe. It just makes you really get going. And then I'll just trickle out some of the songs from the EP as singles, and boom, 2 EPs this year.
Yeah.
And then I'm also going to be releasing a Halloween single called Snake Lady.
Do you like to do that? Is that the first time you've done that, or is that something you like to do?
I love season. I am totally a big celebrator of the October holiday. And yeah, every year I do something in regards to Halloween.
Cool. Well,
and then I'll have a Christmas project too.
Oh wow! So that's smart, because it's good to kind of to capitalize on stuff like that. Because as artists, we have to figure out how to do something that's gonna hit the audience in a good way. So I think it's a Halloween thing and the Christmas thing. That's always cool.
Yeah, I love the holidays. So I celebrate in song.
Well, thank you for being on the program. We're going to send you the links after. I know you'll be going to the studio, but we'll probably be sending you the links as we do it. And we're just excited that that you came on the program, and we're happy to have you on the festival we're going to be doing. So we'll talk more about that.
Sounds good.
Offline.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.